Our main character this time is a laborer named Park Hae-jin, who became extremely wealthy due to the mysterious power he gained from a rare artifact. So what's his story? Let's dive in. The night was silent, shrouding an ancient tomb in Japan. In the pitch-black darkness, an old man was busy chiseling away at an ancient wall. With determined swings of his hammer, he finally managed to break through. Lifting his lantern to light the path ahead, he stepped inside, making his way through a narrow, dusty corridor filled with the damp scent of old earth. At the end of the corridor stood an ominous statue of a demon. Its face was rigid, eyes hollow, as if silently watching anyone who dared to approach. The old man paused, his gaze tracing the intricate carvings that radiated a mystical aura from the past. Suddenly, hurried footsteps shattered the silence. One of his men rushed in, panting heavily. "Sir, we need to get out of here fast. I think the guards will be back any minute," he exclaimed, his voice filled with worry. But the old man barely glanced back and calmly replied, "Didn't we plan it so they'd take longer to get here?" The situation grew tense. They knew that if they got caught, they'd become international fugitives for looting a tomb in a foreign land. But before they could make a move, something unexpected happened. The demon statue's eyes suddenly glowed bright green, as if awakening from a long slumber. The eerie light seemed to hypnotize the old man. His eyes went blank, his body moving as if controlled by an unseen force. Obsessed, he lifted his hammer once more and struck the statue without hesitation. "Hurry! We have to leave now," his man shouted from behind, his voice trembling with fear. But the old man didn't care. Blow after blow, he smashed the statue until it finally crumbled, revealing a small, gleaming box hidden inside. With trembling hands, he reached for the box and slowly opened it. Inside lay a rare artifact, 8 small, shimmering bells, glowing with an otherworldly aura as if carrying a mysterious power from the past. Turns out, that old man from the tomb was none other than the father of our main character, Hae-jin. Wearing his dusty laborer's uniform, Hae-jin trudged down a dark alley, grumbling to himself, "Instead of sticking with this low-paying job, maybe I should just buy a motorbike and become a delivery guy." That thought had been his constant companion on many lonely nights like this. When he finally got home, he swung the door open quickly, only to freeze. All the lights in the house were on, even though he was sure he'd turned them off before leaving for work. His instincts kicked in, sending a rush of alertness through him. He darted through the rooms, his mind racing with worst-case scenarios. "Dad, where have you been all this time? Answer me," he shouted desperately, his voice echoing in the empty house. But there was no reply. Only silence. Standing there, his heart sank. His eyes scanned the cold, empty room before he slumped onto a chair, his face clouded with disappointment and loneliness. Then, his gaze landed on a small box wrapped in blue cloth, sitting quietly on an old wooden table. He stared at it for a long moment, as if the box carried the weight of forgotten memories. He could almost see his father's face, vivid in his mind, and a soft whisper escaped his lips. "If you ever come back, at least see me before you leave again." Now, a little background about Hae-jin's father. He was an antique dealer, but his family history was far more complicated than just trading artifacts. Hae-jin's grandfather, a renowned archaeologist from South Korea, hid a dark past. During the colonial era, he betrayed his country by siding with the Japanese occupiers. Even after Korea gained independence, he continued illegal activities, secretly selling national treasures for personal profit. When Hae-jin's father discovered the truth, the shame and guilt hit him hard. He felt it was his duty to atone for his father's sins. From that moment on, he dedicated his life to one noble mission: recovering all the stolen artifacts and returning them to their rightful place. After his father's death, Hae-jin's dad embarked on a relentless journey around the world, no matter how far or dangerous it was. He was determined to find those national treasures, even if it meant raiding ancient tombs. But unlike his father, he did it not for personal gain. Every artifact he recovered was returned to the government, a token of repentance for his family's past mistakes. In his quest for redemption, he lost all his wealth. But his sacrifices didn't stop there. Life dealt him another blow when he lost his wife. Despite the grief and his declining health, he never strayed from his mission. His words echoed in Hae-jin's mind. There are countless relics from our ancestors out there that need to be restored and brought back home. As his son, Heijin never truly understood his father's obsession. Deep down, he often wondered, why did Dad choose to live like this? But no answer could ease the storm in his heart. What remained was a growing resentment he couldn't shake off. In a dimly lit room, Heijin sat slouched, his face buried in his hands. In front of him lay the small, blue-wrapped box, worn with age but clearly holding precious memories. His eyes were empty, drowned in unspoken sorrow, as if the weight of the world pressed down on his shoulders. The same thought haunted him over and over. I've been the only one providing for my family since I was a kid. If only Dad could come back. If only we could be a family again. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a strange glow emanating from the blue box. His heart raced, his eyes widening in shock. Why is this happening? What's inside? With trembling hands, he unwrapped the cloth. A greenish light burst from the cracks, casting flickering shadows on his bewildered face. Inside, hidden away, was a mysterious artifact, an ancient object that felt strangely familiar. I've seen this somewhere before, he whispered, struggling to piece together a distant memory. Without warning, the artifact began to vibrate, its glow intensifying until Heijin was lifted off the ground, surrounded by a swirling vortex of energy. When the chaos finally subsided, he found himself in a completely different place, enveloped by a magical aura. Out of the dim light, a beautiful woman appeared, suddenly wrapping her arms around him in a warm embrace. A small crown shimmered atop her head, and her elegant attire made it clear, she wasn't from this world. Who is she? The question lingered in the air, wrapping the scene in an intriguing mystery. Park Hae-jin's adventure had just begun, and it was already proving to be far more extraordinary than he ever imagined. Stay tuned for the next video because this story still holds secrets waiting to be uncovered.